even go as far as to use intimidation factors to try and sway them to no longer be vocal. I think that needs to be a focus of how we're going to be effective with those members on council to act in what we think is our interest versus their own personal agenda. And that's the case that's going on in council now with certain members. They're focusing on their own agenda, and they're using billing tactics to achieve that. And that's where our focus is. We could spend countless hours talking about we disagree with Mayor Craig for this or we disagree with that, but it's not being constructive. We have to come up with a game plan that's going to be effective, and I don't see that happening right now.
Okay, well,
sorry,
that's fine. That's a very good point.
I'm as frustrated as everybody else here.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and you're right. I mean, these conversations will devolve into, you know, he said, she said kind of stuff, and in fact, where we started out is talking about why we feel the way that we feel. So here's what we can do. What we can do is continue to speak as a unified voice and let council know that we disapprove of the decision-making process. The second thing that we can do is, as Dr. Coleman suggested, come up with our parallel process and, can you hear me still? Okay, come up with our process in parallel, and this keeps cutting in, so maybe I'll just turn that.
Sorry, just one thing with respect to that.
So, can everybody hear me?
Can I just interject here?
Yeah.
With respect to the doctor's idea, we need to find out if there's a legal, a position legally that we can take against the city if they go ahead with this, if we disagree with it. Maybe if we collectively donated $20 a piece, we can at very least afford to get a legal opinion whether we have precedence to file civil litigation to put a stop to it. And then we're in a better position to use that towards the mayor if he decides to try and push it through. Then we have a position where we can go to him and go, we have legal precedent, and we're going to follow through with it if he pushes through with it.
Well, and that is another course of action. Okay, so I mean, there's multiple things that have to happen in parallel to each other. And one is to keep doing what we're doing.
Right.
Okay, speaking as a group, because that's the only way they're actually going to hear and listen. And we know that's having an impact because we can see it by their reactions. Having a parallel process and what shape that may take is different. I think what we're really trying to say is we need to feed them what we really want to see. And if they're not engaging us in the way that we need to be engaged or is most effective to engage us, then we need to demonstrate that to them because we're hyper aware on this issue. The suggestion that you've made, sir, in terms of obtaining a legal opinion and expert opinion on the various components of this project is also very important and something that we're looking at. Now, as a core, we're a relatively small group speaking for a very large number of people, and we appreciate the support and the faith that you're putting into us in that regard. And by the way, if anyone wants to step up and help in a little more personal way, we would certainly welcome that, and you're welcome to contact me directly either by email or through the Facebook page or the petition site. So obtaining a legal opinion is certainly a position, but we have no budget, okay? And soliciting money from people is a slippery slope because we have to make sure that it's accounted for and used properly. So, and we haven't gone down that avenue. It's a very difficult thing. So maybe if you're obviously a very intelligent person. If you know someone who can either manage that aspect of it or is well connected with a lawyer.
Hey, there's a volunteer.
There you go.
This has been going on at a lot of different levels, and over the last 8 months, because I work with the major law firms in the province, I've had 2 legal opinions prepared by 2 of the best experts in municipal and planning law in the province. And we have exchanged legal opinions with the city, and in both cases, the city was advised they had proceeded improperly in terms of the way that they are managing the process in the committee. and they were advised that they have been ignoring what their Planning Act requirements are, and particularly the Planning Act requirements, if they aren't met, may be taken to the Ontario Municipal Board. We applied, in both cases, supplied an initial opinion. The city responded and didn't really answer the initial legal opinions, so we wrote again, and they have just clammed up. So we have the opinions you are thinking about, and the city has decided to ignore them at their peril.
There's the way we can go.
Okay. Floyd?
Yes, I'm a limited knowledge when it comes to legal things, but I spent 30-odd years which I had to resolve through courts and whatnot. And I do believe that what Dr. Coleman has just said is a good basis to go to a judge and get a stop order, because they have ignored the legal positions of those two law firms of no. These are not just your one-door type of legal advice. These are people who live on the advice they give. And I think a judge would not have a difficulty in accepting the application and stop everything for whatever days he thought it was, or submit them to giving me their information that they have refused to give. I also, as a ratepayer within the city, I also email every council, clerk, and the mayor. I received 4 phone calls back, spent some time with Frank, one Carol, I believe, and in the end I said, you know, I might respect your name, but I'm having difficulty with your thoughts, so maybe we should just cease this conversation at this moment. And he's so pushy on, we have to do it now. I think if anybody talks to him, we've got to do it now, or next year we may not be able to afford it at all. And my retort to this is that if we don't do it right, we may regret doing it next year. So, and I spoke with Pam, yes, and she's been very receptive to some of the items that I brought to her attention, and I hope that, and I will continue from time to time emailing them all. And I think that if you email today to the councilors, get your neighbor to email tomorrow if they see similarly, and a response such as we now have may make a big difference as to what goes on in the process. But there's a big hurdle. Do it now, and that's the sale. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to mention that I totally agree with what this gentleman just said, and that is that we need to have some force behind us, and legally preferably, to be able to say to council, we recognize that you've done your studies, your staff has done your studies, but what I honestly, and this I'll divert for a moment, what I think is going to happen over the summer, it's my personal opinion, and thank you all for your work, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a long education process as to why we can't go to Disneyland. So what's going to happen is we're going to end up in September being told that we have been given all the opportunity to understand why city councilors and staff made their decision. Now that's good, except when people mention words like cost, I say, where is the independent audit of that cost? Where are those cost figures coming from? How can I understand when you tell me something is going to cost 30 million if you don't show me how you arrived at that 30 million? We need to have an independent person on board to say those numbers are justified.
Yeah.
And that independent person should be working with Dr. Derek Coleman and whatever team we put together, legal and traditional, to suggest to council, this is what we're doing, this is the way we want to go. We don't want to be listening to a summer of education. we want the opportunity to reopen the entire selection process, from top to bottom, at the risk of delaying the project, because we want to do it right. So I'm hoping that you can find a way to make that presented to council so they understand, because I think when we go to the meeting on Monday, we're going to be sidelined, and all we're going to be able to talk about is the motion.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. So you've talked about three things, okay? And the first part of that is the psychology of the whole undertaking on the side of the city. One is, and the language that's being used is very careful not to commit to revisiting the entire thing, but as you put it, educating the public. And in part, that's what we asked for, okay? But they're not going to give it to us in the way that we are asking for.
We
They're
asked
gonna
for
give
it
to
because
us.
we know they didn't do it.
That's right. We didn't know that the first time we asked, but we know it now.
Let me
And
put it-
so they're giving themselves.
It will be done by the time we have that process
Precisely.
backwards made.
They're the kid on the school bus feverishly trying to do their homework before handing it in at 8 a.m. So that's the first part of it, is the psychology, and they're hoping that what we're doing here will lose its momentum over the summer, and that by the time September arrives, as a community, we're going to be so tired of chasing this, and we're going to be out of energy, and you say, I was right at the beginning. You can't fight them. It's just too hard. And the reason it's hard is because they can wait longer than we can. But not this time. Okay? So the second part of what you're talking about is the process. And we've talked a lot about process. Derek in particular has talked about process and a third-party analysis. And that's come up a few different times in conversations like this, as well as conversations in our group and individual meetings that we've had with various people of more knowledge than our own. And they've all said it, that a third-party independent analysis of this, because right now the people who are doing it, who have already made their decision, have too much invested in their choice to be objective. Okay, so what we need to do, and part of what we're trying to do, is give them the process that we would like to see, which is a fair, open, concise process. Something that, whether you agree with the outcome or not, we've agreed on the process, and therefore, even if you don't arrive at a conclusion you as an individual would prefer, you can still respect how we got there and accept it. Okay? And because it doesn't matter what the question is, you're never going to get 100% consensus on it. It's just not possible. Okay? And the final part of that, I forget. Because I was
covering the first part, I do too.
Yes. And it's summer, that's right. So you're right. What they're embarking on is a campaign to convince us that they are right. And they are right only insofar as we allow them to be right. Okay? This is not Dad saying, I'm your dad, and I said so. Okay? We're past that. We're all young adults here, and we have a thought process. Well, metaphorically speaking, that we have a thought process, and we deserve a better answer. And if we don't accept your answer, you, as a parent, have to be open-minded enough, still the metaphorical parent, have to be open-minded enough to receive what we are saying because it has value. And ignoring that is at your peril. Yes?
Does anybody know how long the process of development on the multi-complex has been taking place? Is it been a 10-year process? Has it been a 3-year process?
There's several answers to that question. The first answer is 25 years.
Okay.
Okay? This topic has been on the table far longer than I have lived in Cambridge. Yes,
I have to address that. In the late 70s, it already was suggested to have a sportsplex.
there you go.
And the suggestion was in Dumfries Park at that time, but the Hillburn family had a will there that
Yeah.
we couldn't separate.
So,
That's how long.
so you're absolutely right. So almost 40 years. Okay. The second answer is 2000 since 2011, 2012.
With Doug
Okay.
Craig.
With Doug
Specifically.
Craig and Carl Kiefer. Well, that probably goes back to 20 years. Okay, and then the official answer is since November, December 2014, when Gary Dyke and John Tibbetts had this happenstance meeting at a Chamber of Commerce Christmas event. So pick your answer. Oh.
But to your point,
Yes.
the process for a council is to have a leisure facilities master plan. And those meetings, if there's a 20-year plan put together, and every 5 years they're supposed to look at it. If you go to the Cambridge City site and take a look at it, it's done up in a letter, and there's very little content to it. Okay, and it's Carl Kiefer that was the chair. And Doug Craig was on that committee, and they did nothing. And if you go back, they did nothing because they had other issues. If you go to the 2011 sustainability plan, it's referenced. There's a letter in there from Carl Kiefer, and it basically has a one line in it that says, and we should have a multiplex. Well, he's been saying that for the last 20 years, but he hasn't done anything.
Well, it's
Okay,
interesting.
and that's to your point,
Because
there
what
is a
he
process.
said to me was, if this gets put on hold, it will be another 10 years before we ever see anything.
And that's what
Well,
they're going to use.
And that may or may not be true. And that's a wedge issue that they're using with the sporting groups. Okay, because the sporting groups feel much the same way we do, but their fear is that if it's not done now, they're not going to get this sporting benefit to the community. Because that's hanging over their head. Okay, and fear works. Okay, and it's unfortunate because for us that this drives a wedge into getting anything accomplished, and that's what the proponents of this location are counting on. Yes, sir.
I think there's basically two things are going to happen or should happen. These meetings, June, July, and August, they're going to hope you're all at Salvo Beach. Show up. Your best chance of stopping this are legal. You could talk for 100 years and they're not going to listen to you, but they will listen to a court or a judge. I think that's your best thing, and I'm willing to put money towards a judge or a lawyer or whatever. But they're hoping that you forget about this until September. You don't rush into anything that's worth $80 million.
No.
And you see the mess they've made with the city now. They got a post office with a glass thing on the top, and now they were supposed to walk across the bridge. And who knows what else we spent money on.
Well, and this is the thing. So, folks, I don't want to belabor it because the folks at the Newfoundland Club have been very generous with us, allowing us to use their facility tonight. I want to thank them very much, Jamie in particular. And before I wrap it up, I strongly encourage you all, if you have something to say, register tomorrow morning or tonight when you get home online, send an email to the clerk, and register as a delegation for Monday night. Let your views be known. Come to the meeting Monday night and bring people with you. One last thing, sir.
I'm going to call my counselor tomorrow. Good. And I didn't vote for any of these people. I don't vote for incumbents anymore because I see what's happening.
Thank you.
So 4 years.
You're right. You're right.
I'll go get a real job after this.
10 years ago, I don't vote for incumbents. If you can't figure it out in 48 months, let somebody else do it.
Sir, to your point, what we need is a ranked voting system, right? And a term limit. And that would help us rejuvenate the community and have people on there that want to make change and be constructive, not teams on
Community
either side of
building.
council. Yes. But you're right on. And I think the next step is how do we get a ranked voting system? Because in a municipal election, it's more important than any other level of government.
Very true. Last thing, sir, and then we'll call it a night.
I've heard so much tonight about those areas where you're gonna get it for parking. Like you get a big complex, you need all these places. You have 3 arenas, you're gonna pull down. And you gotta take them down if you're gonna, stop, see you're gonna pay for that. And you got,
No, they're gonna decommission.
They're gonna decommission them and
Use them for other purposes, lacrosse, ball hockey.
but you got even some areas where you have, like the Hasper Arena, you could put one arena there, one arena in another place, we've got parking. Like all the people aren't gonna go to this one complex and play in all these arenas or whatever. So to put that all over there, you got places, small places, you put a swimming pool in one area. You got lots of parking in these small areas like that complex out there. And to me, that makes more sense than trying to look for one big area to have everything in one spot. And there's still
and that, and again, sir, that comes back to the process and the criteria. How did they arrive at where they are? And because no one can tell us is really the crux of the matter. There was no discernible process. And we deserve better, especially when we're spending that kind
all
of
the
money.
money we spent that gold arena, they brought it back.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah.
It's a great
So why
arena.
can't you do this other stuff?
You can
Yeah.
dual pad dunk and mat
Yeah.
and have a nice sports facility. We don't need Field of Dreams over on.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so very much for coming tonight.